On the day of my mother's funeral, the city's elite filled the chapel. My fiancé, Daniel, was nowhere to be found. Instead, he was at a luxury postpartum center, live streaming with his mistress. The video spread across the entire city. The image of him cradling a newborn was the cruelest possible contrast to the eulogy in my hands. On the phone, he told me to be strong, said he was dealing with an urgent client matter. So I ended the engagement in front of everyone and threw the ring onto the empty seat where he should have been. Then I walked toward his greatest rival and said 2 words, "Marry me." I stood at my mother's funeral. Black dress, black veil. Every prominent figure in the city was there. I held the microphone, my voice steady. "Thank you all for coming." My palms were slick with sweat. My stomach felt packed with ice. But my back was perfectly straight. Daniel hadn't shown up. My fiancé, the man who was supposed to be standing beside me today. The guests were whispering. I could hear them. Where was Daniel Foster? His fiancée's mother was being laid to rest, and he was absent? I continued reading the eulogy, word by word, like I was telling someone else's story. Our butler, John, approached me. His face was pale. A tablet trembled in his hands. "Miss," he said quietly, "you need to see this." I took it. It was a secretly recorded video. The footage was shaky, but clear enough. A private room in a high-end maternity recovery center. Pink curtains. Daniel was wearing the gray sweater I'd given him. In his arms was a newborn, so tiny. Wrapped in a blue blanket. The camera shifted. Hannah lay in bed, glowing, her hair neatly styled. She smiled at the camera, reached out to tickle the baby, then looked up at Daniel. Daniel lowered his head and kissed her forehead. Timestamp, 10:47 a.m. My mother's funeral had begun at 11. My hands started to shake. The tablet nearly slipped from my fingers. John caught me before I fell. "Who posted it?" I asked. My voice sounded far away. "An anonymous account. It's already spreading through multiple groups." My phone vibrated. "Daniel." I stepped into a corner and answered. "Sophia," he said calmly. "I'm at the hospital. Something urgent came up. I might not make it in time." I stared at the image of him holding the baby. What kind of urgent matter? A client had a medical situation. I need to stay with her. "A client?" I said. "What's her name?" He paused. "That's not important. Just handle the funeral for now, okay? I'll come find you later." "Daniel." "Yeah?" "The baby in your arms," I said slowly. "Whose child is that?" Silence. Long, suffocating silence. Then he said, "You saw it." "Not a question. Answer me." "It was a mistake," Daniel snapped, irritation rising in his voice. "One night after drinking." "Sophia, I didn't want this either, but she got pregnant. I couldn't force her to terminate it. That's still, my mother is being buried today." I cut him off. "I know, but Hannah just gave birth. She needs someone with her. You're strong. You can handle this, right?" My nails dug into my palm. "So you're not coming?" "I'll come later." I hung up. My hands shook harder, but I didn't cry. I had cried all my tears over the past 3 months while my mother lay dying. Daniel had visited only 3 times. Each time, he said he was busy with work. Apparently, he was busy accompanying another woman through her pregnancy. My phone vibrated again. Hannah had posted on social media 9 photos. The baby's tiny feet. A close-up of Daniel holding that little hand. The luxury confinement center's elaborate meals. The last photo was a family portrait, Daniel holding the baby, Hannah leaning against his shoulder, smiling sweetly. Caption, "Thank you for coming into this world, my little angel. And thank you to your daddy for being by our side the whole time. Love you both." Posted 2 minutes ago. Daniel had liked it. My breath caught in my throat. The guests were still waiting for me to continue. The priest looked at me expectantly. Reporters raised their cameras. Lenses aimed at my face. One reporter pushed forward. Microphone nearly hitting my cheek. "Miss Sophia, why is Mr. Daniel Foster absent from today's funeral? There are rumors that he's at a hospital accompanying a very important client who just gave birth. Is that true?" The crowd fell silent. Everyone was watching me. I raised a hand and signaled John. "Connect the tablet to the main screen," I said. He froze. "Miss, this is a funeral, do it." He did. The large screen, which had been displaying photos of my mother, flickered. The video began to play. Gasps filled the room. The footage was clear. Daniel cradling the newborn. Hannah smiling at him sweetly. The timestamp, 13 minutes before the funeral began. Sharp intakes of breath. Shocked whispers. Cameras flashing wildly. My phone rang again. Daniel. I hit speaker and held the phone toward the microphone. Sophia. Let me explain. His voice blasted through the sound system. Hannah's baby was a mistake. You're the only one I love. Finish the funeral first. We'll talk tonight. Talk about what? I said into the microphone. My amplified voice cut through the chapel. Talk about how I'm supposed to be this child's stepmother after we get married? Or how you and Hannah will continue seeing each other behind my back. I won't see her again. I swear. I'll pay child support, but it won't affect our life. Sophia, you know our family's marriage alliance affects the entire group's future. You can't throw everything away over something this small, something small. I repeated. I slipped the engagement ring off my left ring finger. The 5-carat diamond Daniel had placed there last year on a yacht. When he said, Sophia, I'll treat you right for the rest of my life. I held the ring up to the cameras. Daniel Foster, I said clearly, each word sharp as ice. Our engagement is officially over. I let go. The ring struck the marble floor with a crisp, piercing sound. It rolled several times before stopping at a guest's feet. The room fell dead silent. Then the flashes exploded in a storm of light. I turned away, no longer looking at the screen. No longer listening to Daniel's frantic shouting through the phone. At the back of the crowd, someone had been standing there the entire time. Lucas Reed, Daniel's greatest rival, heir to the Reed Group, and the man I had almost dated in college. He was watching me, his face unreadable. I walked toward him. My heels struck the marble floor, loud and sharp. Every eye followed me. Cameras pivoted in my direction. I stopped in front of Lucas. Marry me, I said. He lifted an eyebrow. You know the Reed family rule. He replied calmly. Once you marry in, there's no divorce. I know. You're sure? I'm sure. Lucas extended his hand. I took it. His hand was warm. Mine felt like ice. He led me to the front of the hall, turning to face the guests and the sea of cameras. Ladies and gentlemen, Lucas said. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried effortlessly. Sophia Warren and I will be getting married. The date will be announced soon. The room exploded. Gasps. Reporters frantically dialing phones. Camera shutters firing like a thunderstorm. Just then, the banquet hall doors were thrown open. Daniel stormed in. His hair was disheveled. His suit jacket missing. He glared at me, then at Lucas. Eyes bloodshot. Sophia, have you lost your mind? He tried to rush forward but was stopped by security. You're acting out of spite. You'll destroy the partnership between our families. I looked at him, the man I had loved for 4 years. The man who spent my mother's funeral with his mistress and their newborn child. Daniel, I said quietly, you're not worthy of me. He flinched as if slapped. Lucas slid an arm around my shoulders and gave Daniel a faint smile. Mr. Foster, he said coolly, welcome to the battlefield. That night, the headlines exploded. Shocking twist at Warren funeral, fiancé absent with mistress. Heiress marries rival on the spot. Foster Group shares plunge 7% after hours. Reed heir seizes bride, power structure among elite families set to shift. I sat alone in my mother's empty house, scrolling through the news. My phone lit up. A text from an unknown number. You think Lucas really likes you? He's just using you to hurt Daniel. You'll regret this. I deleted it. Then I called Lucas. Tomorrow, I said. We're getting the marriage license. At 8 the next morning, Lucas's car pulled up outside my house. I got in. Black suit, white shirt. He glanced at me but didn't speak. We drove towards City Hall. Foster's stock dropped 11% overnight. Lucas said. Daniel's father called me 3 times. What did he say? He demanded I return his son's fiancé. Lucas gave a faint smile. As if your property. I stared out the window. You won't regret this, will you? I asked. Regret what? Marrying a woman who was dumped at her mother's funeral. Sophia, he said, turning to me. 4 years ago, if Daniel hadn't interfered, I would have been the one standing beside you. I blinked. You never told me. You loved him. he said simply. There was no point. We arrived at City Hall. The paperwork moved quickly. Signatures, stamps, vows. In less than 20 minutes, we were legally husband and wife. The clerk handed us the marriage certificate. I stared at the 2 sheets of paper, slightly dazed. You can still back out, Lucas said. No. I folded the certificate and slipped it into my bag. Let's go somewhere. Where? Foster Group headquarters. He looked at me and smiled. Half an hour later, we stood in the lobby of Foster Group's headquarters. The receptionist recognized me. Her face drained of color. Miss Sophia. I mean, Mrs. How can I'm here to see Daniel. I said. Mr. Foster is in a meeting. You don't have an appointment, tell him. Lucas stepped forward. His ex-fiancée and her new husband are here for a chat. The receptionist hurriedly made the call. 3 minutes later, Daniel burst out of the elevator. His eyes were bloodshot. His suit wrinkled. When he saw Lucas and me standing together, his face turned ashen. Sophia, are you serious? He shouted. You actually married him? We've got the marriage certificate, I said calmly. Would you like to see it? You're doing this to get back at me. It's childish. Stupid. Call it whatever you like. I looped my arm through Lucas's. I came to inform you that, effective immediately, the Warren family is terminating all cooperative projects with Foster Group. Daniel looked like he'd been struck by lightning. What did you say? Would you like me to repeat it? There are penalties in those contracts. Astronomical ones. You can't afford that. The Warren family can, Lucas said smoothly. And while we're at it, Reed Group is withdrawing all investments in Foster. I've also begun shorting your stock. Daniel's face went from pale to paper white. You planned this, just a business decision. Lucas replied with a polite smile. Oh, and one more thing, I acquired 8% of Foster's publicly traded shares last month. That makes me one of your top 10 shareholders. Daniel staggered back, gripping the reception desk to steady himself. See you at the shareholders' meeting, Lucas said, taking my hand and turning to leave. Sophia, Daniel shouted after us. You'll regret this. You think Lucas loves you? He's just using you to hurt me. Once he's done playing with you, he'll throw you away like trash. I stopped and looked back at him. Daniel, I said evenly, at least he's standing beside me right now. You are holding another woman's child at my mother's funeral. Daniel opened his mouth, but no words came out. We walked out of the building. The sun was bright outside. Reporters were already waiting. Cameras trained on us. Mr. Reed, is your marriage to Sophia Warren a business alliance? Miss Sophia, you cancelled your engagement yesterday and remarried today. Isn't that a bit impulsive? Are the two of you working together to take down Foster Group? Lucas raised our joined hands. We're husband and wife, he said to the cameras. It's that simple. He shielded me as I got into the car. The door shut, sealing out the noise. Thank you, I said. No need, he replied, starting the engine. We're married. We're supposed to have each other's backs. You bought those shares ahead of time? Yeah. He turned the steering wheel. Daniel poached 3 of my biggest clients. Didn't play clean. I figured I should return the favor. So marrying me was part of that? He was quiet for a moment. Sophia, he said, if I only wanted to hurt Daniel, I had 10 easier ways to do it. I married you because I wanted to. I looked at him. His profile was sharp, composed, but his eyes were steady, serious. Where are we going now? I asked. Your place, he said. Pack your things. Starting today, you're staying with me. So fast? Daniel won't let this go. His voice cooled. I'm not comfortable with you being alone. He was right. The moment we pulled up in front of my apartment building, I saw Hannah standing by the entrance. She was holding the baby. 2 women stood beside her, friends. Probably, they were laughing, but the smiles froze when they saw me step out of Lucas's car. Well, if it isn't Sophia, Hannah said loudly. That was quick. Already traded up to a new man? Impressive. Her friends snickered. I stepped out and walked toward her. Do you need something? I asked. I'm here to pick up a few things. She smiled sweetly. Daniel said you've got some baby supplies here. Since you won't be needing them, he told me I could have them. I frowned. I don't have baby supplies. Oh, my mistake. She blinked innocently. I meant some of your mother's jewelry. Daniel said there's no point keeping an old woman's things now that she's gone. Might as well let me wear them. My blood rushed to my head. Say that again. What? Can't hear? Hannah shifted the baby and stepped closer. I said I'm taking your mom's tacky little jewelry collection. You've climbed higher now. Guess you won't miss those cheap trinkets. Lucas stepped up beside me. And you are? He asked calmly. Hannah. I said. Daniel's mistress. She gave birth to his child yesterday. Oh. Lucas nodded. Then looked at Hannah. So you're here to steal? Her face changed instantly. What did you just say? Taking someone's property without permission is theft. Lucas pulled out his phone. Would you like me to call the police? Daniel promised me. Daniel Foster has no authority over Sophia's personal property. Lucas began dialing. Hello. I'd like to report an attempted burglary. Are you insane? Hannah shrieked. Fine. I won't take it. She clutched the baby and turned to leave in a fluster. Wait. I said. She turned back, glaring at me. What now? I stepped closer and looked at the baby in her arms. So small. Asleep. Hannah. I said. Remember one thing. What? You can have Daniel. A man like that, I don't want him. He's yours. I held her gaze. But if you ever mention my mother again, I said slowly, I will make sure you and your son can't stay in this city. Her face went pale. I turned and walked into the building with Lucas. In the elevator, I leaned against the wall, suddenly drained. That was impressive, Lucas said. Thanks. But be ready, he added, watching the numbers climb. This is just the beginning. Daniel and that woman won't let this go. I know. The doors opened. We walked to my apartment. I entered the passcode. Error. I tried again. Error. What's wrong? Lucas asked. I crouched down and examined the lock. There were fresh scratches. The panel had been pried open slightly. Someone changed the code. I said. Lucas's eyes turned icy. He took out his phone and called property management. This is Lucas Reed. My wife Sophia's door lock has been illegally changed, and she cannot access her own home. Send someone up immediately with a locksmith. Also pull today's surveillance footage for this floor. 5 minutes later, the property manager rushed upstairs, sweating. Mr. Reed. Miss Sophia. This, who changed the lock? Lucas asked. It was Mr. Daniel Foster. He came this morning with purchase documents and identification. He said this apartment belonged to him and requested a code change. We verified the paperwork. It appeared legitimate. The documents are fake. I cut in. What? This apartment was a birthday gift from my mother 3 years ago. I pulled up the digital property deed on my phone. The title is solely under my name. Daniel Foster has no rights to this property. The manager's face grew paler as he read. This is, open the door now, Lucas said coldly. Otherwise I will sue your company for unlawful deprivation of property access. The damages will bankrupt you. The manager's hands shook as he called a locksmith. 10 minutes later, the door opened. I stepped inside and froze. The living room was a disaster. Women's lingerie lay tossed across the couch. Half-empty wine glasses sat on the coffee table. Stains marked the rug. My bedroom door stood open. The sheets were wrinkled and disheveled. Hannah's skincare products were lined up on my nightstand. The closet doors were wide open. My mother's jewelry box had been dragged out and dumped onto the floor. It was empty. On my vanity, my limited edition handbags were gone. In the shoe cabinet, dozens of high heels had been scattered. Several pairs deliberately snapped at the heel. In the bathroom, towels lay on the floor. A man's razor rested by the sink. Hannah's presence had invaded every inch of my home. They spent the night here, I said. My voice was calm, so calm it was frightening. Lucas stepped beside me and took my hand. His hand was warm. We call the police, he said. No. I shook my head. That's too easy on them. I walked into the bedroom and reached into the bottom drawer of my nightstand. From the back corner, I pulled out a small voice recorder. I pressed play. Daniel's voice filled the room. Her handbags are so ugly, tacky as hell. If you like them, take them. What about this jewelry? All this junk her mom left behind, think it's worth anything? Sell it. She won't need it anymore. Daniel, you're the best once I'm done with postpartum recovery. We'll get married, okay? Yeah, once I get my hands on the Warren family assets, I'll marry you. The recording ended. I looked at Lucas. This, I said, is better than calling the police. That afternoon, I anonymously sent the recording to several entertainment news outlets. Within an hour, headlines exploded again. Explosive recording revealed. Foster heir plotted to seize fiancé's family fortune. Mistress moves in heiress's luxury apartment ransacked. Moral bankruptcy. Foster group shares drop another 15%. Daniel called. I answered. Sophia, you recorded me? That's despicable. Not as despicable as you. I replied evenly. Daniel, the game's begun. I hung up and blocked his number. Lucas came out of the study. I've spoken to the lawyers. He said. We're filing charges tomorrow for illegal entry and theft. I also froze 3 of his bank accounts. I looked at him. Why are you doing so much for me? He walked over and stopped in front of me. Because you're my wife now, he said. Anyone who messes with you is messing with me. This marriage is contractual. The contract doesn't say I don't protect you. He gave a faint smile. Let's pack. You can't stay here. I looked around what used to be my home. Every corner carried Daniel and Hannah's contamination. Okay, I said. I took what I needed and left with Lucas. As the elevator descended, my phone buzzed with a bank notification. $50 million deposited into account ending 8876. Sender, Lucas Reed. I stared at the screen. This is spending money, he said casually. My wife shouldn't be short on cash. I don't need, you do. He looked at my reflection in the elevator doors. The business war ahead requires capital. It's not a gift. It's an investment. I believe you'll double it. The elevator reached the lobby. The doors opened to a wall of reporters. They rushed forward. Miss Sophia, is the recording authentic? Did Daniel Foster truly plot to take your assets? Mr. Reed, are you backing your wife in retaliation? Is your marriage built on revenge? Lucas wrapped an arm around my shoulders and guided me through the crowd. When we reached the car, he stopped and turned to face the cameras. I'll say this once, he said clearly. Sophia is my wife. Anyone who harms her is an enemy of the Reed family. That includes Daniel Foster. That includes Foster Group. And that includes anyone hoping to take advantage of the situation. He paused, his gaze turning icy. You're free to report the news. But if anyone fabricates information or harasses my wife, his eyes swept across the reporters. I will make sure you and your media company disappear. Silence fell. He opened the car door for me. As we drove away, I saw in the rearview mirror that none of the reporters dared follow. About what you said just now, I began. I meant every word, Lucas replied. Sophia, you may not fully understand yet. Understand what? You're Mrs. Reed now. His eyes stayed on the road. In this city, no one dares touch you. They didn't before. Now they definitely won't. I leaned back against the seat, watching the city blur past. On the day of my mother's funeral, I thought I had lost everything. But now... Lucas. Yeah? Thank you. No need. He smiled faintly. After all, this is only the opening act. The next morning, I received a text from an unknown number. Sophia, we need to talk. About the jewelry your mother left behind, I can return it. 3 p.m. City Hospital Postpartum Center. Room 308. Come alone. Daniel. I stared at the message. Lucas walked out of the bathroom, towel around his neck. What's wrong? I showed him the text. He frowned. It's a trap. I know, I said, but I'm going. Why? My mother's belongings are with them. The jewelry isn't worth much, but it means everything to me. He was silent for a moment. I'm coming with you, he said alone. I'll wait downstairs. Lucas said firmly. If you're not out in 30 minutes, I'm coming up. At exactly 3 o'clock, I arrived at the hospital's luxury postpartum suite, room 308. The door was slightly ajar. I pushed it open. The suite was spacious, living area and bedroom. The air smelled faintly of milk and perfume. Hannah sat on the couch in a silk robe, the baby in her arms. Daniel stood by the window. When he saw me, his expression was complicated. You came, he said. The jewelry, I replied. Where is it? Hannah laughed. What's the rush? She stood, placed the baby gently into a crib, then walked toward me. Sit down. Sophia. After all, we've shared a man. I ignored her and looked at Daniel. My mother's jewelry. Return it. Those pieces, Daniel rubbed his forehead. Hannah really likes them. So you're not giving them back. I said. We can compensate you. Daniel stepped closer. Sophia. Let's talk this through. Marrying Lucas was impulsive. You don't love him, do you? That's none of your business. It is. He snapped. You were my fiancé. For years. We were about to get married. You betrayed me first. I said calmly. The moment you held that child, your child with her, we were over. It was a mistake. He grabbed my arm. Sophia. Listen to me. I can cut Hannah off. I'll provide child support. But the kid won't enter our home. We can start over. Our home? I yanked my arm free. What home? You and me? Daniel. Have you lost your mind? Hannah let out a shrill scream. Daniel. What do you mean? You said you were going to marry me. Shut up. Daniel roared at her. I'm talking to Sophia. You're telling me to shut up? Hannah rushed over and pointed at my face. For this bitch? I gave you a son. What did she ever give you? Ha? Hannah. Calm down. I am not calm. She grabbed something off the coffee table and hurled it at me. I instinctively dodged. It hit the floor and shattered. My mother's pocket watch. A silver case with a photo of my parents when they were young embedded inside. One of my mother's most treasured keepsakes. The casing split open. The glass cracked. The photograph inside was scratched. I crouched down, my fingers trembling as I picked it up. The hands of the watch had stopped, frozen forever at a single moment. Oops. My bad, Hannah said without a hint of remorse. It was junk anyway. I stood up slowly. The blood rushed to my ears. My vision blurred slightly. Apologize. I said. What? Hannah raised a brow. Apologize to my mother. For what? She laughed. She's dead. I raised my hand. But someone was faster. Daniel grabbed my wrist and shoved me hard. I slammed into the wall. The back of my head struck something solid. Darkness flashed across my vision. Sophia. Don't push it. Daniel snapped. Hannah just gave birth. She's emotionally unstable. Can't you cut her some slack? I reached back and touched the spot where my head had hit. My fingers came away wet. Blood. Cut her some slack? I looked at the blood on my hand and laughed softly. Daniel, you never cease to amaze me. Hannah walked over and looked down at me. You know, she said smugly. I sold your luxury handbags. Got over 200 grand for them. That'll buy my baby formula for a whole year. She crouched and leaned close to my ear. And your silk lingerie? I tried it on. Daniel said it looks better on me. I closed my eyes, took a slow breath, then opened them and looked at her. Are you finished? I asked calmly. She blinked. You, if you're done, I said, bracing myself against the wall and standing up. May I leave now? Leave? Daniel stepped in front of the door. We're not done talking. There's nothing to discuss. There is. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a stack of papers. This is the prenuptial agreement we signed when we got engaged. According to it, if the engagement is terminated, you owe me $5 million in emotional damages. I took the papers and flipped through them. It was the agreement. Our signatures were on the last page. This was signed before your infidelity. I said, legally, it's invalid. You can't prove I cheated, he said with a smirk. The video? A misunderstanding. The recording? Could be fabricated. Court rulings take time. Sophia, until then, you owe the $5 million. And if I don't pay, I'll apply to freeze all Warren family assets, he said coolly, including the company your mother left you. You know I'm capable of that. I looked at him, the man I once believed I'd spend my life with. Now he looked like a snake, coiled, venomous. Daniel, I said quietly, are you sure you want to do this? Very sure. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. Sophia, leave Lucas. Come back to me. We can pretend none of this happened. You'll still be Mrs. Foster. I'll treat you well, like you did on the day of my mother's funeral? I asked. His expression darkened. Don't push your luck. What if I insist? His gaze turned icy. Then don't blame me for forgetting old times. He stepped back and turned to Hannah. Lock her in the bathroom. Let her cool off. What? Hannah's eyes widened. Do it. She hesitated, then grabbed my arm. Let's go, princess, she sneered, dragging me toward the bathroom. Go reflect on your life. I struggled, but my head was spinning and I was weak. She shoved me inside and locked the door from the outside. Stay there, she shouted. Come out when you've come to your senses. The bathroom was dim. Only a small window let in a sliver of light. I sat down on the closed toilet lid and took out my phone. The screen was cracked from hitting the wall, but it still worked. I opened the recording app, pressed record. Outside the door, Daniel and Hannah's voices carried clearly. You're really locking her in? What if she calls the police? She won't. Daniel scoffed. She cares too much about her image, and she thinks marrying Lucas makes her untouchable? The old men in the Reed family will never accept a second-hand woman like her. Then why were you asking her to come back? To string her along. Once she pays the $5 million, I'll dump her. She'll lose both her money and her pride. Lucas will get sick of her eventually too. You're so smart, Hannah cooed. And the jewelry her mom left, all yours. Take whatever you like. But what if she retaliates? Her? Daniel laughed. I know Sophia too well. She looks tough, but she's soft-hearted. She can't live without me. For years of loving me, she won't let go that easily. Really? Of course. Give it a few days. Once no one wants her, she'll come crawling back. I stopped the recording. Then I sent the audio file to Lucas. Attached message, I'm locked in the bathroom of room 308 at the postpartum center. My head is bleeding. Sent. 30 seconds later. My phone vibrated. Lucas replied, 10 minutes. I leaned back against the wall. The back of my head throbbed. But something else hurt more. Not Daniel's betrayal. That pain was already numb. It was disappointment. In myself. How had I ever loved someone like him? How had I believed he was the one? Outside, Hannah's voice drifted through the door. She's awfully quiet. What if something happened? What could happen? Daniel said dismissively. She's just pretending. Let her sit there. Want to order takeout? What are you craving? Lobster, lobster it is. Their laughter echoed. I closed my eyes and counted. 1 minute, 2, 5. At 8 minutes, hurried footsteps sounded outside, then pounding on the door. Open up! Police! Daniel's voice cracked with panic. Police? What police? What are you doing? Hannah let out a scream. Daniel, what do you mean? You said you were going to marry me. Shut up! Daniel roared at her. I'm talking to Sophia. You're telling me to shut up? Hannah rushed over and pointed a finger in my face. For this bitch? I gave you a son. What has she ever done for you? Ha! Hannah, calm down. I am not calm. She grabbed something off the coffee table and hurled it at me. I ducked on instinct. It hit the floor and shattered. My mother's pocket watch. A silver case. With a photo of my parents when they were young set inside. It was one of my mother's most treasured keepsakes. The case was cracked. The glass was splintered. The photo was scratched straight through. I crouched down, my fingers trembling as I picked it up. The hands had stopped, frozen at some random moment in time. Oh, oops, Hannah said without a shred of remorse. It was junk anyway. I stood up. Blood rushed to my ears. My vision blurred. Apologize, I said. What? Hannah arched a brow. Apologize to my mother. For what? She laughed. She's dead. I raised my hand. But someone moved faster. Daniel grabbed my wrist and shoved me hard. I slammed into the wall. The back of my head cracked against it, and my vision went black for a second. Sophia, don't push it, Daniel snapped. Hannah just had a baby. Her emotions are unstable. Can't you cut her some slack? I reached back and touched the back of my head. My palm came away damp. I looked at it. Blood. Cut her some slack? I stared at the red on my hand and laughed. Daniel, you never fail to amaze me. Hannah walked over and looked down at me. You know, she said. I sold your designer bags. Got over 200 grand for them. Enough to buy formula for my baby for a whole year. She crouched beside me and leaned close to my ear. And your silk lingerie? I tried it on. Daniel said it looks better on me than it ever did on you. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, then opened them and looked at her. Are you done? I asked. She froze for a second. If you're done, I said, pushing myself up against the wall. Can I leave now? Leave? Daniel stepped in front of the door. We're not finished talking. There's nothing left to say. There is. He walked over and pulled a stack of papers from his pocket. This is the prenuptial agreement we signed when we got engaged. According to it, if the engagement is terminated, you owe me $5 million in emotional damages. I took the documents and flipped through them. It was the agreement. Our signatures were on the last page. This was signed under the condition that you were faithful. I said, it's invalid if you cheated. You can't prove I cheated. He smiled. Video? A misunderstanding. Audio? Could be doctored. Court rulings take time. Sophia, until then, you owe me $5 million. And if I don't pay, I'll apply to freeze all assets under the Warren family name. He said, including the company your mother left you. You know I can do that. I looked at him, the man I once thought I would spend my life with. Now he looked like a venomous snake, tongue flicking, ready to strike. Daniel, I said quietly, are you sure you want to do this? Very sure. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. Sophia, leave Lucas and come back to me. We can pretend none of this ever happened. You'll still be Mrs. Foster. I'll treat you well, like you treated me on the day of my mother's funeral? I asked. His expression shifted. Don't push your luck. And what if I do? His gaze turned icy. Then don't blame me for not showing mercy. He stepped back and turned to Hannah. Lock her in the bathroom. Let her cool off. What? Hannah's eyes widened. Do it. She hesitated, then grabbed my arm. Come on, princess. She sneered, dragging me toward the bathroom. Go reflect on your mistakes. I struggled, but my head was spinning and I didn't have the strength. She shoved me inside and locked the door from the outside. Stay in there, she shouted. Come out when you've come to your senses. The bathroom was dim. Only a small window let in a sliver of light. I sat on the closed toilet lid and pulled out my phone. The screen was cracked from when I hit the wall, but it still worked. I opened the voice recorder, pressed record. Outside the door, Daniel and Hannah started talking. You're really locking her in? What if she calls the cops? She won't, Daniel said. She still cares about her reputation. And what? She thinks marrying Lucas means she's untouchable? The old men in the Reed family would never accept used goods like her. Then why did you just ask her to come back? To string her along. Once she pays the $5 million, I'll dump her. She'll lose everything. Lucas will get tired of the drama sooner or later and divorce her. You're so smart, Hannah cooed. Then what about her mom's jewelry? All yours. Take whatever you like. But what if she gets revenge? She? Daniel laughed. I know Sophia. She acts tough, but she's soft inside. She can't live without me. She might talk big now, but give it a few days. When no one wants her, she'll come crawling back. Really? Of course. She loved me for 4 years. You think she can just let that go? I stopped the recording and sent the audio file to Lucas with a message. I'm locked in the bathroom at Serenity Postpartum Center, room 308. My head is bleeding. 30 seconds later, my phone buzzed. Lucas replied, 10 minutes. I leaned back against the wall. The wound at the back of my head throbbed, but my heart hurt more. Not because of Daniel's betrayal. That pain had already gone numb. This was a different kind of pain. Disappointment. In myself. How did I ever love a man like that? How did I ever think he was the one? Outside, Hannah's voice drifted in. She's so quiet. What if something happened? What could happen? She's just pretending, Daniel said. Leave her. Want to order takeout? What are you in the mood for? Lobster done. Let's get lobster. Their laughter echoed through the door. I closed my eyes. Counted the time. 1 minute. 2. 5. At 8 minutes, I heard hurried footsteps, then pounding on the door. Open up! Police! Daniel's panicked voice followed. Police? What police? What are you? A crash against the door. Once. Twice. The door burst open. Light flooded in. I opened my eyes. Lucas rushed in first. His face was ashen when he saw the blood on my head. His eyes turned so cold they looked murderous. Sophia. He knelt beside me, checking my wound. Is it bad? I'm fine, I said. Just a surface cut. 2 officers followed him in. Who locked her in here? One of them demanded. Daniel's face had gone pale. It's a misunderstanding. We were just talking. She locked herself in. We have a recording. Lucas stood and played the audio from his phone. She thinks marrying Lucas makes her safe? The old men in the Reed family would never accept used goods like her. Daniel looked like he'd seen a ghost. You recorded us? Unlawful imprisonment, assault, and extortion, the officer said, looking at Daniel. Sir, you're coming with us. I'm Daniel Foster, heir to the Foster Group. You can't arrest me. Don't care who you are. The other officer pulled out handcuffs. Let's go. They cuffed him. He struggled and shouted, but it was useless. Hannah clutched the baby in the corner, crying. It wasn't me. Daniel made me do it. She was taken as well. The baby was handed to a nurse temporarily. Lucas helped me out of the bathroom. The hallway was packed, other mothers, families, nurses, doctors, all staring at us. Camera flashes flickered in the distance. Reporters had somehow gotten in. Can you walk? Lucas asked. Yes. We walked out of the center. Police cars and Lucas's car were parked outside. Reporters rushed forward but were blocked by bodyguards. Before getting in the car, I glanced back. Daniel was being pushed into a squad car. He glared at me like a venomous snake. I didn't look away. Not until the door slammed shut and the car drove off. Hospital, Lucas told the driver. No need. I said, it's minor. I'll treat it at home. You're bleeding. I'm not dying. He studied me, then sighed. Fine. Home. The car pulled away. I leaned back, shivering. Lucas took off his coat and draped it over me. That recording, he said. I've already sent it to the media. By tonight, the whole city will know exactly what kind of man Daniel Foster is. Thank you. No need. He took my hand. You're my wife. Protecting you is my responsibility. I looked at him. Lucas. Our marriage is just contractual. Contracts can be amended. He said. We can make it real. I froze. What did you say? I said. He looked at me seriously. Sophia, let's stop pretending. Let's be a real married couple, okay? The car stopped at a red light. Neon lights flickered outside. Inside, it was quiet. Why? I asked. Because 4 years ago, I should have done this, he said. Because I regret letting you go. Regret giving Daniel the chance to hurt you. You don't mind that I was married? I mind that you were hurt. He gently touched the wound at the back of my head. That won't happen again. I promise. The light turned green. The car moved forward. I need time. I said. I know. He nodded. Take your time. We have a lifetime. A lifetime. I'd once said that word to Daniel. Hearing it from another man felt strange. But, not bad. Okay. I said. He smiled. It was the first time I had ever seen Lucas Reed smile so gently. That night, the news exploded again. Illegal confinement at postpartum center. Foster heir arrested. Shocking audio leak. Daniel Foster calls wife used goods. Foster Group stock plunges 30% overnight. Emergency board meeting convened. The next morning, my lawyer called. Miss Sophia, Daniel Foster has been released on bail. However, the prosecutor has formally charged him with unlawful imprisonment, assault, and extortion. In addition, he is under investigation for allegedly forging documents to illegally change the locks on your apartment. One more thing, my lawyer added. The Foster Group board held an emergency meeting this morning and voted to suspend Daniel from all positions. As of now, he has nothing. I hung up, walked to the window. Reporters were stationed outside the building, but security kept them out. Lucas came over with 2 cups of coffee. You're up? He handed me one, freshly brewed. Thanks. Seen the news? Yes. How do you feel? I took a sip. Not enough. He raised an eyebrow. He still owes me an apology. I said. To my mother. He'll give it, Lucas said. Soon. He was right. 3 days later, Daniel came to the house. Alone. No arrogance. No swagger. He stood outside the villa and rang the doorbell. After the bodyguard informed me, I told them to let him in. He walked into the living room and stiffened when he saw Lucas and me sitting together on the couch. Sophia, he began, his voice hoarse. I came to apologize. For what? I asked. For everything. He lowered his head. I shouldn't have betrayed you. Shouldn't have hurt you. Shouldn't have said those awful things. And not on the day of your mother's funeral, get to the point. I cut in. He took a deep breath. Hannah's baby isn't mine. I froze. Lucas looked up as well. What? The paternity test just came back. Daniel gave a broken laugh. The baby isn't mine. She lied to me. She said it was a drunken mistake, but it was another man's. She just wanted to marry into the foster family. So, he sank down and buried his face in his hands. I'm such an idiot. For a child that wasn't even mine. I ruined 4 years of us. Ruined my career. Ruined everything. I said nothing. I just looked at him. The once high-spirited, arrogant man now crouched in front of me like a stray dog, crying. Sophia, forgive me. He looked up, his eyes red and swollen. Let's start over, okay? I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong, Daniel. I said. Yeah? You're apologizing because the child isn't yours. I said slowly. Clearly, if the child were yours, would you still be apologizing? He froze. You wouldn't. I answered for him. You would have kept forcing me to accept that child. Forcing me to accept Hannah. Forcing me to be the gracious wife. That's not, it is. I stood up and looked down at him. You don't regret betraying me. You regret losing the gamble. Sophia, I love you. No, you don't. I said. You love yourself. He dropped to his knees and grabbed the hem of my pants. Give me one more chance. Just one. I already gave you a chance. I pulled my leg away. On the day of my mother's funeral, I gave you one. If you had just shown up, if you had just said, I'm sorry I'm late, I might have actually forgiven you. I paused, but you didn't come. He collapsed back onto the floor. So, I turned and walked toward the stairs. Our story is over. Sophia! I didn't look back. As I reached the second floor, I heard Lucas's voice downstairs. Daniel, what? Your father called me this morning, Lucas said calmly. He offered to sell me 20% of Foster Group shares in exchange for me dropping the charges. Daniel's eyes widened. What? That's impossible. It's very possible. Lucas smiled faintly. He's already signed a letter of intent. Once the deal goes through, I'll be the largest shareholder of Foster Group. And you? He paused. You might not even have a seat in the boardroom anymore. The color drained completely from Daniel's face. I closed the bedroom door, shutting out the voices downstairs. Then I walked to the window and looked out at the garden. Spring had arrived. The flowers were in bloom. I touched the wound on the back of my head. It had scabbed over, almost healed, just like life. Some wounds close, some people leave, but a new life has already begun. My phone buzzed. A message from Lucas. What do you want for dinner tonight? I'll cook. I smiled and replied. Anything is fine. Just no onions, I don't like them. Got it. I set the phone down and looked out at the sunlight streaming across the garden. It was a beautiful day, and everything was going to be just fine.